Good evening. Welcome back to Kevin Toll Reads. As you can tell, I'm rocking the Gryffindor hat, and we are here to have another video in the Why You Should Read series and talk why you should read Harry Potter and give you my overall thoughts now that I've completed the series. And I thought this would be a great tie-in to do this kind of a hybrid type video. And so we're going to dive right in. So, first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about the author, J.K. Rowling. Real name Joanne Rowling, maiden name Joanne Murray, from the United Kingdom. She went by J.K. as her pen name. She also writes under the pseudonym of Robert Galbraith, I believe is how you pronounce it. Writes the Cormoran Strike mystery series, and I've had a few of you recommend me read that, and I haven't yet pulled the trigger, but it's on my radar. She was born in July of 1965, and she is from Yate in Gloucestershire. I believe that's how you pronounce that. I could be totally wrong. She's written about, I think it's 24 books. Obviously, the seven main Harry Potter books, but she's also written 7 books in the Cormoran Strike mystery series, and then she's written a couple standalone books, and she's written some kind of supportive books to the Harry Potter series, spin-off books, if you will. In terms of books sold, it's substantial. 600 million copies over 84 languages. She's written a lot, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Genre is obviously it's fantasy, mystery, thriller, those kind of genres all mixed together. She's won multiple awards. She's won multiple British Book Awards. She won a Hugo Award for Harry Potter 4, coincidentally, and we'll talk about that in a minute. She graduated from Exeter and Harvard universities, where she won awards there as well. And so some unique, cool facts about Rowling and the Harry Potter series is Harry Potter's birthday in the series, his fictional birthday, is Rowling's actual birthday, which is July 31st. And so I thought that was really interesting. Hermione, the character Hermione, kind of being a bookish, nerdish character, is a lot to do with Rowling growing up and being into books, and her parents being into books and pushing her into reading and being avid readers themselves. The first edition or manuscript that she wrote for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was rejected 12 times before it was accepted by a publishing company. So can you imagine being one of those 12 people? I mean, it'd be like the person that passed on Michael Jordan. I mean, it's kind of crazy in my opinion. Rowling is, another cool fact is Rowling is reported to be the only author to ever attain $1 billion in sales of her books and movie rights and everything else. So she's pretty prolific in that regard. She has another cool fact. Rowling has no middle name. And so instead of doing Joanne Rowling, they thought that if she used the 2 initials like JK, that it would kind of help her sales and maybe would bleed on into like a male audience, a boy audience, to try to push the sales of her book. And so that's what they went with. I thought that was interesting. She's also very charitable. She's estimated in terms of charitable giving and donations over $160 million in charitable donations, which I think is just fantastic. She lived, near a family growing up whose last name was Potter. And that's kind of where she established, Harry Potter from. And so I thought that was really interesting. A lot of the content of Harry Potter comes from her childhood and growing up. And it comes out in some of her books, along with her first kind of foray into marriage and having her own kid. A lot of that kind of transitioned into some of her writing, especially her first marriage, which was pretty rocky, to say the least. I did some research about that, and she was a man from Portugal, I believe, and they didn't have the best of of relationships, and Rowling got really depressed and was kind of mentally unstable. And I think writing Harry Potter is what kind of grounded her and able to get some of those thoughts out and expand on some of the good things that happened as she was growing up. And so I thought that was really interesting. At one point, she was actually living off the government, trying to make ends meet, trying to learn, trying to become a teacher, and trying to write at the same time. So she definitely has blossomed into something. And so moving along, why should you read Harry Potter? Well, there's a number of reasons. And so I kind of condensed my list down into some just major categories that I want to touch on. Characters. I mean, very dynamic characters. You see true growth throughout the 7 books. I thought that was really interesting. I thought Rowling does a very good job of coming of age, especially at a middle school setting. I think Stephen King does it really well. I felt like Rowling did it really well in this series. So I really enjoyed that. I thought the themes and emotions and the angst and the arguing and the infighting is all very accurate in terms of middle school age kids and how they interact and how friends can be friends for a while and then they need a break kind of thing. And so I thought that was really cool. There's definitely emotions driven throughout these books. I had them obviously in some of my reviews. You can see it in when you read these books. I mean, you have anger, jealousy, hate, love, sadness, remorse. I mean, you go through a lot of different emotions. The writing is very straightforward. She's a great writer. I mean, she doesn't get into a lot of bloat. There's not a lot of fluff. She moves things along well. Even as I nitpick different books in the series, they're all highly rated because I think the writing is very approachable from a new reader standpoint. So I like the fact that not everyone lives. Some people are really torn when one of the characters, if they're not a main protagonist or antagonist, dies, and they've kind of grown to like them and build kind of a reading relationship, so to speak, with the characters, and they get killed off by the author. A lot of people get kind of bent out of shape about it, and I like that. I think it shows the author is going to move towards a goal in the story arc, and nothing's going to stand in the way, and they're going to do what they want to tell this tale, and I like that. I liked the relationship arcs of the main 3 characters. Obviously Ron, Harry, and Hermione. But I also like Draco. I like Neville. I like that relationship arc. I like Dumbledore's relationship with Harry. Those are the things that really turned me on to the story and kept me reading and turning pages. Obviously, my favorite characters. Let's touch on that. I mean, obviously Harry. Hedwig. I mean, rest in peace, Hedwig. Hagrid. I mean, who doesn't love Hagrid? Snape. I mean, I didn't see that coming, but yeah, Snape. I loved Professor McGonagall. I thought she was killer. Dumbledore. I mean, obviously that father figure. I thought he was great. Drop me a comment below. I'd like to know what your favorites are. My favorite moments in the series, I wanted to give you some of those. I mean, the Quidditch tournaments I thought were great. I thought that was very entertaining. I thought it was a nice setting. I liked the Triwizard tournament. I thought that was great. Dumbledore's death, even though it was heart-wrenching, I thought that was great. Molly Weasley and Bellatrix, I mean, come on. That was something. The Death Eaters and Voldemort versus Hogwarts. I mean, at the end, I think that was great. Snape's, coming to an end and then shares the memory, and we get to see that backstory and how it all came about and kind of Snape's, final, here's the truth type thing. I thought that was well done. The epilogue. I think I mentioned that in my review of book 7. The epilogue I thought was really, really good. I really enjoyed that. Harry naming his kids after some of the characters and the meanings behind it. I thought that it really paid that homage to his former allies, and I thought that was great. In terms of scoring, I kind of wanted to give you a little bit there too. Obviously, there's 7 books in the series. Book 1, I gave a 4.9. I thought it was great. Sorcerer's Stone. Book 2, Chamber of Secrets, 4.6. Book 3, Prisoner of Azkaban, I gave a 4.9. Obviously, Goblet of Fire book 4 is my favorite. I gave it a 5. It's my only 5-star rating on the channel. Order of the Phoenix was a 4.6. Half-Blood Prince, 4.9. I thought it was great. Set up the whole book 7. And book 7 was a 4.8. I thought it was great. Average rating for the whole series, if I rate the average score from all the books, was a 4.8. I mean, it's really highly rated and highly regarded. So here's my overall thoughts. First and foremost, Gryffindor forever. You know, the Sorting Hat spoke. I am Gryffindor, so I'm rocking it. I highly recommend this series. Again, I said this before in one of the reviews. If I would have waited to do the video around here's books that I cannot believe I waited so long to get into, this would be probably the number 1 pick. But I am glad I did this. I have to thank, this is hard, I have to thank Molly, my friend Molly, who, when she saw I purchased the books and had any intention down the road to read them, made some comments about getting Harry Potter content on the channel and kind of pushed me and prodded me along. But I do have to thank Molly. You know, she was right, and that tasted like vinegar, but I got to give props where props are due. So anyways, I highly recommend this series. I cannot, my thoughts are all positive. You know, it's definitely worth your time. I can see firsthand now why this is continually rated in the top 10, top 15, when all of these magazines and other media outlets will do their rankings of the top fantasy series of all time lists, and Harry Potter's up there, and it should be, now that I've read it. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this video. It's a little bit longer, but I wanted to give you my thoughts and kind of hybrid it into the Why You Should Read series. But I definitely, if you haven't checked these out, you should. They certainly, to me, read in between adult and YA and somewhere in the middle. In my opinion, I don't really think this is YA. It's not as dark as the Shattered Sea trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, but it has its moments. And so I kind of think both of those kind of land in between, you know, traditional fantasy and YA fantasy, somewhere in the middle there. So anyways, that's kind of my video. I hope you enjoy this again before I sit here and talk. But I hope you're having a great evening, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.